MTV calls it a binge reading treat. Well, that's true. Hello and welcome to talking about winter. The fourth and final installation of the Lunar Chronicles. If you do not know what this is, the Lunar Chronicles are a retelling of classic fairy tales, but like in the future and also in space. So Winter is this world's Snow White character, and she is the stepdaughter to the Queen of Luna. And if you know the story of Snow White, you know that the Queen is very jealous of her stepdaughter. But there is so much more to this story than that. But this is the one where we really meet Winter and get to know her character. She's a trip, y'all. She has the lunar powers but refuses to use them. And it has some pretty horrible side effects. I highly recommend it. If you haven't read it, now is the time to leave because I'm gonna get into spoilers because this book was so good. Go read it, come back so we can talk about it. Goodbye. So Winter. Let me take a moment to discuss the covers of these books because they are so aesthetically pleasing. The first real glimpse we get of Winter's character here is when she is having to sit in on prisoner trials that her stepmother is like residing over because she's queen. And for Winter, these are traumatic affairs that she has to go through often. Levana has already killed one prisoner, and her crush / unofficial boyfriend is next on trial. Because in the last book, he was down on Earth, and he has been accused of betraying the queen because he betrayed Sybil Mira, the thaumaturge who had attacked Cinder. Jacin is going to have to give himself 30 self-inflicted lashes, and Levana is well aware of Winter's feelings for Jacin. So in the last book, I thought that like Winter was in love with this guard Jacin, and Jacin would like have no connection to her. But he loves her, like even though she's kind of insane, but that's self-inflicted insanity because she doesn't want to use her powers on other people, and he finds that really admirable. And Jacin, while he was dealing with our crew in the last book, he found out about the device that Cinder had. In theory, if Winter could get one of these devices, it would be a game changer for her. She wouldn't be going through this self-inflicted torture for the rest of her life. So we return to one of our bigger problems in this book is that Kai is engaged to Levana because she has the letumosis antidote, that horrible plague that has been wrecking Earth. Like so many people have died, it's incurable, and Levana has the cure, and the only way she's going to give it to Kai to cure like his entire country is if he marries her and she becomes empress of one of the like larger territories on Earth. She doesn't want to just be queen of the moon, she wants to also be emperor on Earth. So they've come up with this plan that they need to move the wedding from Earth to the moon, and it's up to Kai to make this happen. Thorne is finally receiving his sight back, and Cress is like, oh, I should probably figure out how to stop staring at him all the time because he's now gonna see and think it's creepy. Well, Levana has decided that Winter is of marriageable age, even though she's like 17. And Levana, kind of as a punishment, has decided to make Jacin Winter's personal guard to make sure she doesn't do anything crazy that would embarrass Levana, because she is now going to be giving Winter to her head thaumaturge, who is horrible. He is awful. And Winter is so excited that Jacin is going to be her guard because she's like, oh, my best friend is back and he has to spend all of his time with me. Jacin, especially when he's on duty, is very much the guard persona. So he's standing outside her room. He doesn't want to come in. When he does, he just leaves immediately after. And Winter doesn't care. She's like, okay, if you're gonna stay in the hall, I will too. She brings her paints out, like just sits down on the floor, rests her head against his leg, and it's just like, I'm enjoying myself. Thorne gets his vision back, and like he's only seen Cress for like maybe a total of like an hour, and all he remembers probably is this giant hair. When he sees her again, he finally has a sight. Cress notes that he's just like staring at her, and he's like, short hair, it works. And I was like, this is, yes, like I thought they were so cute as a couple. Like I think Cress is adorable. Kai's palace is under attack. He's still technically emperor, but Thorne is standing in for him in his kidnapped absence. Oh my gosh, when they're about to say goodbye, like Kai is about to go back to the Commonwealth and he's giving them all a hug and he hugs Aiko, and then Aiko like falls over, her eyes are closed, and everyone's like, oh, what happened? Like, did her computer system glitch? Like, what is going on? And Cinder's like, no, what are you doing? And Aiko is like, Kai hugged me so I fainted. It's that type of stuff that makes Aiko's character so funny because like even if she doesn't have actual human reaction, she'll just become an actress. So there's an interesting moment that really shows us how awful Levana Levana is when Winter decides to go like into town and kind of prance around being Winter, and Jacin has to go with her, and she comes upon like this flower shop and these little kids that are just like starstruck because Winter is like the most beautiful person anyone has ever met. Like every time people meet her, they're just kind of in awe. These little kids, they give her like this flower crown that they made, and she puts it on, and Jacin like rips it off, and he's like, absolutely not, like you cannot do that because Levana will be pissed. She's like, everybody knows that I don't want to be queen, and he's like, stop accepting crowns then, because Levana is just so wrapped up in her power hunger. Oh my gosh, when Thorne finds out that they have painted the Rampion, because originally it had, you know, that outline of a girl on it, he's so upset that they painted it. Cinderella's like, literally, that is so recognizable. It was a liability. We had to paint over it. And Thorne just has the best lines. He's like, a liability? You're a liability. Wolf's a liability. Cress is a liability. We are all messed up. We kind of understand what exactly Winter is seeing in this book when we're seeing through her perspective, because she's having really realistic hallucinations. Jacin is kind of the only one who's able to fight them off. They've been friends for so long and she is in love with him, so like his presence is kind of the only one that can comfort her, and he like has kind of an intuitive sense of how to help her. Winter, she walks into her room and she sees the walls just absolutely covered in blood. Like she can feel the pain of in the entire palace, and Jacin's the one who's like, you have to take a deep breath. Like, you have to tell yourself this is all in your head, and he's kind of the one that walks her through these episodes. Amory is disgusting. First of all, he is like the head thaumaturge, so he's the worst. And then also, like, he is so disgusting, like, around Winter. He proposes to her, is like just so close to her and like caressing her face, and I'm like, literally, ew. She's like, no, but she's worried about Jacin now because like he has this idea that Jacin is the only reason she's rejecting him, and so that puts Jacin in danger. She sees the look between Amory and Jacin, and she's like, it wasn't jealousy, it was murder. So Kai has come back to see Levana, and Levana immediately is like, let's search their ship because it is likely that the rebels are there. But our crew is pretty scrappy, so they manage to escape because Thorne kind of distracts them, and like a huge problem for them throughout this entire thing is that their best fighters, Thorne and Wolf, are really easily mentally manipulated. So she's having to like hold on to their minds as they're moving around. Cress kind of like escapes away from them so she can open the doors for them to get in, and they have to leave her behind because once they get through the doors, they're being chased. She has like made this sacrifice to let us get away without being captured, like we have to go. And Winter finds her hiding, and it's when Levana is in there and like examining the ship, and she does a really great job of like playing on her craziness. Like that's part of like the brilliance of her character too, is that she can play into this crazy side and nobody suspects a thing. So she's like, oh, the Americans sent us paper, how wonderful, and it starts like crinkling it so Cress can start moving and escape without anybody hearing her. And later Winter comes back for her and they find her hiding, and Jacin sees Cress and he's like, Winter, you have to stop collecting these rebels. So the rest of our crew is headed out to the outer sectors, and we find Wolf's mom, and apparently his name is Zeev. Levana tells Jacin that she is concerned that he's only loyal to Winter and not to her. Levana tells him, like, I saw that footage of her putting the crown on, like this is a clear threat to my throne or whatever, so Winter needs to die. You're the perfect choice because you love her, so she's not gonna suffer. You'll make it quick. And she's like, if you refuse, first of all, I'm gonna kill your parents. I'll kill those kids who gave her the flower crown, and he'll send someone who will hurt her before she dies. Scarlet has the funniest inner dialogue. She's still in this cage, and like she's a zoo animal, so like people are coming to look at her through like this barred cage, and they want her to do tricks and talk back to them and all this stuff. And I just picture Scarlet like meditating in the center because she's trying not to react to anything. I just see people like knocking on her cage and like yelling at her, and Scarlet is just like, I am a vision of tranquility and peace. I am the essence of peace and calm. Even though she's so angry. For my next trick, I will be winning a staring contest with the moron with the orange sunglasses. After the menagerie closes, Jacin finds Winter there. She finds out pretty quickly that he's been sent to kill her. It shows how much she loves him when she's like not really scared for herself. She's like, wow, it must have been horrible for him to think all night about how he was gonna kill me as fast as he could. She kind of has this little declaration of telling him that she loves him. Jacin has gotten Cress to mess with the cameras, so when he goes to kiss Winter and he has the knife, he actually kills Ryu, the white wolf. So Winter is freaking out, and Jacin tells Winter, like, you have to play dead, and it'll look like from the security cameras that it's her blood. He has told Scarlet, like, once the lights go out, get out of the cage, because he unlocks it and he gave her a key, and he's like, you and Winter have to get out of here. And they do manage to escape. So Jacin returns to Levana and says that he's incinerated Winter's body, and he's like, can I just please be reassigned to the outer sectors? Because he wants to go escape to the outer sectors to help, and also he is interested in seeing if his parents are there. And Levana is like, I'm sorry you had to do this, and also, no, your request is denied. So Jacin's still stuck in the palace. Okay, it was adorable, and also just so weird when the wolf is in his house, and like from down the street, he like perks up, smells Scarlet, and just takes off. It's so cute because he's so happy that his little canine teeth show. And so now Cinder and Winter have kind of seen each other for the first time since they were really, really little. Winter like drops into a curtsy and Cinder's like, no thank you. So along with Scarlet and Winter, Cress sent the video file of Cinder's speech that they need to broadcast to all of the sectors. The video is pretty much a call for everybody to kind of storm the Capitol. If they have enough people, the thaumaturges won't be able to control them. And the people are kind of like stalling to go home for curfew, and this causes the guards around them to start to try to move them along, and like they start hitting people, and this is when the people, they start to revolt and use their powers, which is something they probably don't get to do very often. The guards start to, they like can't move because the citizens are taking over their minds and bodies so that they can't hurt them anymore. And like Cinder comes out and everybody sees her, and like Wolf's mother like takes the first knee and like kneels before their queen, and like everyone around her does it. It's a really powerful moment. It was like the, you know, the salute in the Hunger Games. So Amory, it comes to Levana, it's like, hey, the people are kind of revolting a little bit, but fun fact, they're not immune to lettumosis anymore. And Levana's like, oh, this is the answer to our problems. I'm gonna make everybody on the moon sick. We have the antidote, and if they don't love me, they don't get to live.
I will kill your friends and family to remind you of my love. Da 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 da.
Love a little Hamilton. So Amory and his soldiers show up to the sector where Cinder is at, and they're like, you are all guilty of high treason, but you can live if you tell us where Cinder is. And so Cinder, as the usual young adult heroine does not want to let people die for her. She wants to go out and just sacrifice herself because they don't see any other way. And Scarlet and Thorne are like, you literally can't do this, because if you die, the revolution dies immediately. There's not enough momentum underneath it without you as their main figure. The guards threaten a little boy, and the sister like starts freaking out. She's like, no, Maha Kesley has them. Like, she wants to save her brother. Understandable, but she is the snitch in this situation. They're like, do you have the cyborg Lynn Cinder? And she's like, the only cyborg I know is the true Princess Slane, which is just enough sass to get her killed. So they try to fight back, but it just doesn't work. They're way too outnumbered. So Cinder and Wolf get captured. And then Cinder gets thrown in prison to await her trial, and her stepmom and stepsister are there. And Cinder is just sitting there. You cannot be serious. She put my two least favorite people in here just to torture me. Oh my gosh, such a great line. Thorne is trying to like rally the troops, get them to have faith in him. He's like, Aiko, did we break in and broadcast Cinder's message? And she's like, yes, we did. Scarlet, did I rescue you and Wolf when Paris was under siege? Well, actually, that was like kind of like Cinder. Yes, I did. But Winter has this idea that they should go appeal to all of the wolf soldiers that are in the sector. And everybody's just like, that is a horrible idea. Oh, so Levana sends Kai a gift, and it's one of Cinder's fingers to like let him know what's going on. Kai isn't exactly losing faith in everybody, but he's kind of coming to the realization that this plan could go south really, really fast, and that really he is the one who's going to have to be that last line of defense between Levana and Earth. So at their wedding, he knows he has to go through with it if he's going to cure his kingdom. If everything else fails, like that's his ultimate objective. And he tries to attack her with some scissors because they have a ribbon ceremony. Levana turns her glamour into Cinder, but it's still Levana. She's like, you can't threaten me like this in front of everybody. Kai has to give up, and he says, I do. Legally married to Levana. So while they're in this prison, Cinder tells her stepmother and stepsister, like, I'm Princess Celine. And it kind of clicks for Audrey. She's like, Garen must have known because he told her to take care of Cinder. But they get summoned to the wedding feast because their trials are going to be the entertainment. Levana accuses Pearl and Audrey for like conspiracy against the crown because they gave Cinder the invitation to the ball where she first had an interaction with Levana. But Audrey kind of proves her innocence to Levana. She's like, makes the case that like Cinder was glamored and stuff like that. Now Cinder is actually in this moment like able to see through some of the glamour, and she sees like a lot of scar tissue on Levana's arm, the same way she has burn marks on her body from Levana trying to set her on fire. But Cinder manages to like take over the minds of the guards in the room because Levana doesn't have active hold over them, and she escapes by jumping off the balcony into the lake. She is part machine. She's not supposed to be submerged in water. She tries to start swimming away, but they're in a biodome because the moon is not good for human bodies. And so she actually reaches the end of it, like reaches the fishbowl wall and almost dies. She can't use her arm or leg anymore, and she can't connect to the internet. But at this point, she's kind of lucky to be alive because all of her friends found her. So Scarlet and Winter decide to go along with Winter's plan of trying to talk to the wolf soldiers. Winter even is wondering like why Scarlet went along with this, and Scarlet tells her, she's like, really, I have nothing left to lose. Her grandmother's dead, her mother left her father was a drunk who got killed. She's fallen in love with a guy genetically made to be a predator. She's like, oh, you want to die? And Scarlet is like, no. But she does have this kind of faith in Winter because she's like, you know, everybody called my grandmother crazy and she was the like smartest person she knew, and she's like, I'm hoping there's a little bit of brilliance in you, Winter. They show up and the wolves are like, oh, it's feeding time. She's telling the wolves that she's like, oh, we've come to give you another option than to be like Levana's weapons. And Scarlet tries to win them over, and she's like, do you see how crazy this girl is? It's because she doesn't want to control you the way Levana does. And it actually works. There's not enough thaumaturges to take all of them over, so they turn on them. So Cress is kind of having to be the one at the helm of fixing Cinder because she has all these problems from being underwater and jumping from so far. And pretty much she's able to get everything back into working condition except for the cool things that Dr. Erlon like made her hand to do, but that's not as big of a deal. Oh my gosh, so we have the actual like clear moment of the fairy tale where Levana has disguised herself and she brings those little apple treats that like are Winter's absolute favorite, and so she eats one and she gets letumosis, and Levana comes back to herself and she's like, this should spread very quickly. So the wolves and Scarlet manage to find Winter, who's like collapsed. They're like, Alpha Wolf like can smell the disease, and he's like, don't go over there, she's sick. But Scarlet does anyway, and then she immediately contracts the disease. Oh my gosh, it was so heartbreaking when Wolf got all of his modifications. This is what he's been avoiding his entire life, is to become a full, like, has the bigger jaw. He just doesn't look quite as human anymore, and he does run on more instinct now. For a little bit, he kind of almost forgets who Scarlet is. So Levana is lying to everybody and telling people that they managed to dredge Cinder's body up from the water so that everyone believes she's dead. So Kai tells Thorne his personal backup plan. Once we get the antidote, you need to take it back to Earth immediately and get everybody cured. If she's going to try to take over everything, I am going to bomb the place that I am in right now. He's going to give up his life and take Levana down with him, and he has officially nominated Thorne to be the next leader of the Commonwealth. Cress and Thorne are going to impersonate guests at the coronation ceremony, while the rest of them are infiltrating into their spots for this. Thorne ends up kissing this other girl in the hall before they go into the coronation. Cress sees it and is absolutely heartbroken because Thorne tells this girl that he loves her and like all this stuff. It was so upsetting. It's this one for some reason that breaks Cress, and she gets really mad at Thorne. She's like, you flirt with every girl except for me, and she's just heartbroken. But then he kisses her. It was so cute. She just loves him so much. And he tells her it was Lunar using like the mind capabilities to look like Cress. He's like, she was impersonating you. I thought I was kissing you. They get found out and Thorne gets taken and Cress is still hiding. Cinder and Jacin manage to get the antidotes that they need for Winter, Scarlet, and everybody else who has letumosis. It was really scary. Jacin brings the antidote to Winter, and it's really cute because she wakes up from the suspension chamber. He's like, hey, trouble, and like gives it to her, and it was really cute. So Kai goes through this coronation, and Wolf is there as a guard. As soon as he's crowned, he goes after Levana, kind of unprompted. And then the speakers come on, and Cinder is over their sound system and is like, Levana, you have 10 minutes to surrender. She's not going down without a fight though. Their wolves like go in and the thaumaturge just takes so many of them down, and Cinder is ready to fight Levana and then realizes that her cyborg brain is no longer working because of the water damage, and so it's just her regular brain that's not trained to fend Levana off. They do get the video up, so the video is streaming live and it's going to show Levana and all of her scars, and this is Levana's like nightmare. So back over in the area where Scarlet is, someone takes over her body and has her like walking towards one of the rebels with an axe, like about to kill them, and Wolf comes in at the last moment so that Scarlet doesn't have to axe someone in the stomach, and it is so sad because she sees him, she still loves him, and she's like, it's still you, right? He doesn't even know. He's like, I think so, I don't know, and he actually starts crying, and it was so upsetting. Oh, Amory is so awful. He tells Winter that he's gonna kill Jacin, and she's like begging for his life, and he's like, yeah, too bad. Also, you are going to marry me, or I'm just going to take you. And and he's about to use her mind and take her over to kill Jacin. Winter finally uses her power. It's so weak because she's never used it, but she manages to take over Scarlet. And Scarlet is like her body is like jerking because Winter's having such a hard time controlling her, but she manages to get Scarlet to stab Amory. Yes! But this does like kind of break her. She can't get Scarlet to stop stabbing, which is gonna be kind of traumatic to Scarlet. Jacin has to kind of like make her stop, and she really just starts screaming. Like this is what has broken Winter. Levana has Cinder in like a horrible position because she has Thorne at the end of that balcony she jumped off of, but Thorne is probably not going to survive that, but she's controlling his body. And Levana's like, do you want to know where I got these scars? It's from your mother. We kind of go more into depth with that in Fairest, and Levana really believes she did the right thing because Cinder's like, oh, so you killed my mother, your husband, like all these people, including attempting to kill her to be in charge, and Levana really believes that she's done what's right for Luna. Thorne falls back, but he manages to grab onto the thing. We have a whole like Lion King moment where Cinder is trying to pull him back up, but then Levana takes control of his mind, so even as she's trying to save him, Thorne is like punching her. He's like, sorry, that's not me. And Cinder and Levana manage to get into this mind battle where they're fighting each other and like slowly pulling the gun to their own head. It was a really cool like visual, but also, like, it would have been like watching a fight in super slow motion. Then Levana pretends to surrender and then stabs Cinder in the heart. Classic Levana. But Levana does get shot here. And she dies as Cinder is kind of dying. We have this really sweet moment with Wolf and Scarlet where he's like, I get it if you don't like me anymore, because he's like half wolf instead of like maybe like a quarter. She's like, I don't know what you thought I wanted in a man, but mostly I need help on the farm. But she tells him that she loves him and that she still wants to be with him, and it's just really, really sweet. So Cinder finally comes to, and we find out that she got stabbed in the heart, but because she was a cyborg, she managed to go into like this sort of like self-preservation mode. And everybody's alive, so that's good, but everybody's recovering because they're all injured. And Cinder is Queen of Luna officially. And Cinder wastes no time. She's like, I've just come back from the dead, but get everybody together because I gotta sign this treaty. Jacin is waiting for Winter to come to because she's kind of been knocked out and like kind of back and forth for several days. And the doctor said like the strain of using her power after not using it for so long like really did kind of destroy parts of her mind. But now when she wakes up, instead of seeing blood everywhere, she sees snow. And at first I thought she had amnesia because she was like, it's nice to meet you. But she didn't, thank goodness. So apparently the design for these like machines that can block like lunar power was in Ico the whole time. And Audrey is like, I cannot believe I almost destroyed that android. Oh my gosh, Thorne, he talks to the president of the American Republic, and Thorne is like, guess what I got? I got the Rampion. Well, I mean, I have to pay for it, but he is at least letting me have it. He tells Cress that he and Scarlet are going to be picking a Missing Fingers Club, and that Cinder gets to be an honorary member. I died. But it was so cute because Thorne was telling Krez, he was like, yeah, I told you to stay away from me because like I didn't deserve you. And he's like, I'm working on it. Like I have a car now, kind of. I have a job. Like I'm trying to get out of a life of crime. And he's like, maybe by the time you figure out that I don't deserve you, I maybe will. And that was really cute. So we find out that Winter's going to be okay because we do see her recognizing Jacin, and she is playing with the ghost of Ryu. So she's still like like very much trapped in her mind, but she is first on deck as the volunteer to try out this prototype of the lunar power blocker thing. Cinder is crowned Queen of Luna, and she's decided to dissolve the lunar monarchy once things kind of settle out a little bit. And this is good for Kai because he's like, well, how would you feel about being Empress later? Because they're gonna be together and it's gonna be so cute. I loved this series and I loved both of the side novels, and I'm planning to make a review about those ASAP. What did you think? Out of our 4 like main book title characters, who was your favorite? I love them all. Maybe Scarlet. I really liked her sass. She's just like a little fireball. I love it. Please like this video if you liked it, and subscribe if you want to talk about more book stuff. My name's Katelyn. Thank you so much for watching. Bye! Is it sideways? The world will never know.